Okay, and the magic machine tells me that I'm live, so I will act accordingly. Folks, I've got a debate coming up with the one and only RPG Pundit, and I'm looking forward to it. I have been covering this article, the article that is purported to have been written by one Dr. Cleo Bella Weissman regarding harassment in the TTRPG community. I have been fairly, I think, characterized as a kind of anti article person. And in my coverage of the article, I think that because I have a passionate style. Uh, Unfortunately, I think it's been distracting, and because my style leads to very long videos, people have not been willing to kind of like hear the arguments out. Also, I have to be completely honest. One of the people involved in this whole issue is litigious. It's their right. You know, the court system. I'm an attorney. The court systems are designed for people to have redress, have an opportunity, and have a forum for the redress of grievances. And it is people's rights to seek redress in the courts. But I'm not saying that I've given anybody grounds to sue me, but I have no desire, having had a what I characterize as frivolous lawsuit still open against me in Colorado. I don't want to be cavalier about how I conduct things. And I believe that because things may have turned into a bit of a back and forth, on social media and between me and Grim Jim, I want to keep things, you know, as level as possible and simplify things a bit and take out the emotion, take out the feelings, and also, to there's that which can be sustained and there's that which is speculation. And I don't want people to be burdened by the confusion of the two. Um, and I don't want to be burdened by the confusion of the two. Also, in regards to Grim Jim, um, I can relate to anxiety, stress, depression, and feelings of suicidal ideation. I can relate. I love Grim Jim. I really do. I like his material, I like his work, and I like him. I don't want anyone to feel overly anxious. So if I can express myself dispassionately rather than passionately, and if that leads to an ability for people to more clearly understand each other, then that's the way I would prefer to go and proceed. I have taken my previous videos on this subject down and made them private in order to replace them with this more concise, hopefully more concise exposition of my core ideas. I'm doing this prior to the debate. Some people might feel that to be kind of a shuffle or some sort of move. I can't control for that. People are going to have their own interpretation of things, and it is what it is. Because time is short and because we are trying to aim for a briefer video, I will proceed. Here's a brief introduction. My name is, online. I'm on YouTube. I'm CW Chanter. I've been on YouTube since 2015, starting, my main channel covering New Age topics, New Age spirituality, occultism, ufology, and conspiracy theory, not because I'm a diehard believer in any of those things, but because those things were of interest to me. I have my own religion called Commonwealth Chanting. It is what it is. People can draw their own conclusions about what that says about me as a person. I am interested in these things and I explore these things. While doing that channel, I became kind of infamous for talking about other people in that community and regarding some people that I thought were kind of, scammy or were doing things or saying things that I thought were, of ill repute, to put it kindly. And I got myself in some trouble doing that. Like I mentioned, I have an open lawsuit against me. in the wonderful state of Colorado, where I have never been. When we have a pending motion to dismiss for lack of jurisdiction based on that, but given what happened with COVID and given the backlog of things, and because of that, in all federal courts, that pending motion has been pending for so long. I literally have relationships that have ended prior to that issue being resolved. It is what it is, folks. Like I said, I've been on YouTube since 2015. I'm also a practicing attorney, and primarily concentrating in personal injury and workers' compensation. Though I'm trying to branch out and do different things of a more peaceful and mediation nature. But it is what it is, and I think that is pertinent here because I do have some expertise in the field of talking about medical experts and understanding some of what it takes and some of the requirements they have and some of their professional and ethical responsibilities and some of the things that can happen to them if things go wrong and breaches are made in the field of ethics and violations thereof. I also want to disclose that I am a recovering an alcoholic and an addict in active recovery. I mentioned, my mental issues. I have a diagnosis. I have multiple diagnoses. I might be characterized, like some people, neurodivergent. I've dealt with mental health professionals, both as a customer as well as as an attorney conducting, depositions and otherwise. So like I said, I have some experience in, with some of his HIPAA laws and, laws of professional conduct, addressing mental health professionals. And that's pertinent because the article, obviously, we're talking about was purported to be authored by a licensed practicing psychotherapist. And I say purported because one of the issues that I have is the notion and idea that this article, though credibility has been lent to it by the notion that it's been authored by a licensed professional therapist, and there's no doubt that there is a Dr. Cleo Bella Weissman that has existed at one point on planet Earth, though everybody so far has testified that they can't find her currently, though people are looking. There are serious questions I have about whether or not this article is entirely her work product or was ever her work product. No one's saying that people didn't speak to someone who told them that they were Dr. Cleo Weissman. No one is saying that there never was a person that was Dr. Cleo Weissman, but me and other people have said that this article is hard to imagine coming from a licensed practicing psychotherapist or licensed psychotherapist who is interested in holding on to their licensing. But I don't want to get too ahead of myself. I want to keep my eye on the clock and do things one thing at a time. I'm also a TTRPG fan. I come here and I'm participating in this not because I'm some shill from the leftist communist organization sent here by the Bernie Sanders Bros organization to run cover for terrible, horrible people. I'm a TTRPG fan, and I'm a fan of Grim Jim. And Jim, I don't want to mispronounce his name. My last name is Zavodnik, so I can also relate to the notion of having your name mispronounced. Whenever I mention my love of Jim Demsborough, if I got it right, and I've mentioned him before I went into this whole coverage of this whole thing, right before it, it's like almost like ironic. I did a William S. Burroughs cut up where I talked about him. It's crazy. I've always mentioned and I've always led with the fact that one of the things that I love about him is that he adapted John Norman's Gore. Folks, there's a theory that I'm like some sort of doctrinaire, I'm a leftist, granted, but if there's some sort of notion that I'm some sort of doctrinaire, woke as all get out, granola guy, is there any author that I believe I have an almost complete collection of John Norman Daw books originals, right? And I'm working on the Masquerade reissues, like the romance novels company. I think they were Harlequin, had an imprint called Masquerade where they did some reissues for John Norman. Is there an author that I can cite other than John, but citing John Norman, is there an author that I can cite to prove that I'm not a doctrinaire, feminist woke guy, other than possibly Peter Sotos, to prove that I'm not like lockstep Mr. Woke, right? I'm into gore. Like, come on, folks. You know what I mean? So I've got the gore books, and not only do I have like the main book, right? I've got like all the adventure modules. I'm missing like, I don't know if there's like a number one. I've got like one. I've got like all of them, like except number 7. I'm missing number 7, and I've got like this SQ. I don't know if this counts as number 1. If there's a number 1, I'm missing number 1, and I'm missing number 7. So if someone can help me hunt those down, I'll have a complete set, unless it goes up to like 9 or something, whatever. I also have Machinations of the Space Princess, illustrated by Satine Phoenix, right? So I get double cancellation points on that one, right? I also have Lamentations of the Flame Princess, right? I'm not Mr. I hate, this stuff. On the opposite end of the spectrum, Neil Patterson. Love it. Why won't he return my phone calls? I bother him all the time on Instagram. Anyway, we want to keep this short, and I'm already failing at that, so here we go. I have a Me Dude hashtag Me Dude story. You know what I mean? Like, the guy that sued me totally led an organized campaign to link me at the height of hashtag Pizzagate, all that stuff, to link me to the deep state Illuminati underground, which, tried to totally paint me as as a total PDF file. There was an organized campaign, that involved other attorneys that were members of like his kind of mind control cult to like literally make multiple false claims to the New Jersey State Board of Ethics Board, right? So they're coming after my license. It was a total shit show. So like I totally can relate to the notion of like cancel culture and like people being canceled and organized hate mobs, right? I get it. So I'm not trying to run cover for anybody. I can empathize, not just sympathize, with people like James Raggy and Grim Jim. If I say the statement, the facts in the article are true, is a falsifiable statement and an indefensible statement, that's not the same as saying that every statement in the article is false. Okay? I have been, okay? And if I criticize the article, it's not the same as saying that the people talked about in the article are 100% innocent, or that any wrongdoing, that there was no wrongdoing, or that any wrongdoing by them is excusable or anything like that, or that nothing bad ever happened. I'm saying that there's a problem with the article. That's not the same as saying that people weren't gone after or anything like that. I'm criticizing the article. Here's what I'm saying. Here's my arguments. I am saying the article appears to be suspicious and not the work product of the author it is credited to, or solely the work product of the author it is credited to, and therefore its contents cannot be given the authority some in the community seem to want to, despite the seemingly confirming audio. Number 2, because the article was distributed after the purported author acted in a way that clearly and affirmatively shows their desire to not have it out, it was morally and ethically wrong to do so, and given the facts at hand, the ends just do not justify the means as far as the greater good being served is concerned. Okay, and let's go through those arguments one at a time. The first one, the article appears to be suspicious. So here's some bullet points regarding my arguments that I've laid out in the previous videos that I set to private regarding the arguments not being the work product of this Dr. Cleo Bella Weissman, licensed therapist who's written previous articles, published articles. There are clear violations of professional ethics that address licensed therapists and mental health professionals contained within the article. There are clear cases of diagnosis shaming and invalidation of human beings via diagnosis. Okay? Specifically, when it comes to some aspects of a human being who is, though it is a violation of professional ethics to diagnose someone who you do not have as a therapist, that you haven't been a therapist of, and to release that diagnosis to the public. The diagnosis is made of an individual, and that diagnosis is weaponized to specifically make the argument that their statements regarding allegations against another party are invalid and should not be believed because people with this diagnosis are suspect and subject to making up stories and the like. So, despite this person not being this person's client, a diagnosis is made and the argument is put forward that because of this diagnosis, this person is not supposed to be believed. Also, multiple statements are made regarding the disclosure of personal details regarding this individual's diary entries and diagnosis made by another doctor that is disclosed to the public. The consequences of performing and doing this sort of lapse in professional conduct, there's also, it could result in legal liability. The author, Dr. Cleo Bella Weissman, could be sued by this individual for intentional infliction of emotional distress, violation of HIPAA, and other things. It really is a shit show. Also, they could lose their license or suffer other disciplinary consequences as a result of this if they put this in print. So we have to ask ourselves, why would someone do this? There's also an issue where there's a diagnosis versus diagnosis competition. Two individuals are compared. I diagnosed this person, though they never treated them. I diagnosed this person, though they never disclosed that they officially diagnosed them or treated them. And then a comparison is kind of done. So, but it's kind of set up between these two individuals, this person with this diagnosis, this person with this diagnosis. You can see it's more likely than not that this person is telling the truth versus this person. That's, a life. We have to ask ourselves, do we think that a licensed therapist would do this? I don't think it's the case that that's likely. But could it be the case that someone did this? Of course. A person can violate their professional ethics. A person can make a mistake. But this is one of the things, the arguments that I make that supports my conclusion that there are questions about whether or not this is solely the work product of this doctor. Moving on. Okay, I think I said that. Okay. And if all of these could lead to legal liability and a professional disciplinary regime, possible loss of licensing, and that's in my liability to ascertain as a customer, having dealt with multiple mental health professionals, both as a customer, and as an attorney, and it is what it is. Moving on. There's another problem where there's multiple hyperbolic statements of comparison to incarcerated criminals that this doctor may or may not have dealt with. There's problems with the biography that we're able to ascertain, looking at published peer-reviewed papers that this Dr. Cleo Bella Weissman, we know that she wrote, and the curriculum vitae that we can see regarding her in positions that she's held, and looking at her printed and established biographies on websites that are still available, and then looking at her statements that are purported to be made by her in the article, they don't always match up. And there are statements regarding incarcerated criminals and her dealing with incarcerated criminals where she basically says, I've dealt with violent criminals, incarcerated violent criminals, and at-risk youth, but these TTRPG players, they're far worse. And it just gives me pause because I don't work in the criminal as a criminal defense attorney, but I have had experience dealing with the criminal, justice system, not as a client, you know what I mean? But you know what I mean? I've represented people on DUIs and stuff, and I've had, some, work as some tangential work, and I took criminal justice classes, and I have friends that are criminal attorneys, and we've all seen documentaries. Do we really think that a professional who has worked in any context or in any experience, we know that she's written peer-reviewed papers regarding at-risk youth and stuff, do we really think, especially looking at the contents of the article, that this was truly more shocking, that this chilled her to the bone compared to what she saw dealing with the criminal justice system or dealing with violent offenders? There's also a statement, at least the violent offenders that I dealt with had a reason for what they did. Anyone who's worked in the criminal justice system, either as a prosecutor, a criminal defense attorney, or law enforcement, or a judge, or a certified social worker, would tell you that there are incarcerated individuals and even people that are incarcerated in juvenile detention that have clear signs of psychopathy or narcissistic tendencies, that do things of the most heinous nature that have no reason at all. It's just an unsupportable statement that it's hard to believe would come from a licensed therapist, but it is easy to believe might have been put in there by someone who was writing an article using the name of someone else. Is it proof that it wasn't written by Dr. Cleo Weissman? No, but like I said, it is evidence that it might not have been written by the person that it's purported to be written by. Moving on. Look, Grim Jim, who I said I like the guy and I like the guy's work, has established himself as the de facto point man for this article. He published it. He's worked on it. He has made multiple statements on his update videos that I've covered, as well as his appearance on various live streams, where he has said that the audio was not to be included in the original piece. Yet, multiple references are made in the article in the first person to the audio. That should be a red flag for anybody that there's a problem here. He's saying that the audio was not supposed to be included, yet here's right in the beginning, we have the author, the purported author, saying, you are going to hear people with careers and reputations in their industry. And then it says, every quote you're about to read in every interview clip you're about to hear is from them, the harassers, a community of artists, game designers, and fans describing themselves. Itself. That's a disconnect. The audio is not supposed to be included, yet the text specifically refers to the audio in the first person. We have this quote, I know to a near certainty that one of the reactions to this article will be that it is all made up. And I know that if it is countered with, what about the audio clips, the speaker will simply disappear, wait, and say it again later and somewhere else. That's a direct contradiction to the statements of Grim Jim, the publisher of the article, essentially, that the audio was not supposed to be included in the piece. If the audio was not supposed to be included, then why does the article refer to the audio specifically? When I've asked Grim Jim to answer my questions about his statements, I'm not doing it to be abusive, to be offensive, to be rude, or to harass him. I've been doing it to try and wake him up. I don't want anyone whose work I like to be doing anything bad. I want them, because they were traumatized, because they were harassed, because they were victimized, because they were brought to the point of suicide, to be blinded by that and not see what's plainly in front of them, which is they may be being influenced by people who are trying to pass something off on them, on me, on the TTRPG community. They don't bait mousetraps with shit. You bait a mousetrap with good smelling cheese that the mouse wants to go for. They don't make ant traps and ant baits with ant poison that smells like caca ants. No. They make it with stuff in there that's going to taste good and smell good to the ants. So they take it back to the nest so that they'll bring it to the queen so she'll eat it and the whole nest will die. Propaganda hurts two groups of people. The people that it aims to other and get people to be angry and incensed and go after, and it hurts the people that it's designed to trick into thinking these other people are your enemy. I'm not going to talk about that other stuff because there's a thing. Look, there's a person that's dressed in the article that says, this person is the one person I was not able to find harassing anybody. There's no such person in the world. And it's certainly not that person. We're supposed to believe that a licensed professional therapist doing 4 years of research wasn't able to do a search on Reddit and see countless people complaining about feeling harassed by this person. That this licensed professional therapist wasn't able to see this person's history of litigation and not ascertain, well, all these people that got sued, even if they did things that party A or party B felt was justified, would have felt harassed by that. Look, if you have the choice between being, I don't know, threatened online by someone you don't feel is an actual physical threat to you, or being sued, what would you choose? What would you feel be more harassing to you? I'm not saying that anyone who brings a lawsuit is wrong or, but I'm saying you definitely can harass people through litigation. You absolutely can. And beyond that, the notion that this professional thought that it was reasonable to put down in text, this person, this individual, that individual is 100% pure as the driven snow and never harassed anybody. I mean, maybe if they were talking about like Nanhan or whatever, like Mahatma Gandhi or Mother Teresa, but even then, you know what I mean? Like, ask the British, you know what I mean? Gandhi, they didn't like him. It is what it is, folks. Now, as far as argument number 2, and I might just be coming right in under the wire for you guys. This might sound a little bit legalese. This is the moral and ethical question about publishing this article after the purported author had already taken it down. We need to understand this. Look, how this article got out here was that on January 26, 2024, and I'm not trying to come after Grim Jim, but he's the guy that published this article. It is what it is. January 26, 2024, Grim Jim on his Grim Streams live stream channel started a live stream called The Harassment Gang Behind the Scenes of TTRPGs. And the description box included a link to the archive and the recovered audio. Note, he has since made statements that the audio was not to be included in the original article. I've already pointed out the problems with that statement. Look, here's some statements. At 3 minutes and 28 seconds, he says, there was this article that came and then was removed. So by the time he started this live stream, he already knew that the article had been taken down. At that point, the best we can assume is that he knew that the article was taken down by the original uploader that would have been the creator themselves. Some of it personally affects me. It is revelatory. And even though this person has removed the article The internet is forever. There's not a huge amount you can really do about it. 5 minutes and 57 seconds. This is an article by Dr. Cleo Bella Weissman, who thought apparently it was a bad idea to publish it. But we are where we are, and they say that it has been removed. You can see it through the archive link. So, but for the fact issue, to the best of my knowledge and ability to ascertain, Grim Jim was the only publisher and promoter of this article, and did so knowingly after it was intentionally removed by the purported author and uploader. And as I've said before, this article is potentially really bad news for Dr. Cleo Bella Weissman if she is found to be the author or sole author of the article, or if she behaved and acted in a way that allowed her name or her materials to come into the hands, possibly negligently, of a third party. Therefore, but for Grim Jim's actions, the purported author's desire to limit any legal, professional, or personal liability, guilt, or regret of any kind by removal of the article post upload, whether that upload was intentional, accidental, or by an authorized or unauthorized third party acting negligently or intentionally, was disturbed, circumvented, and destroyed by his actions. It is my position that this is a violation of another creator and humans' sovereignty and integrity, and is not justified by the supported value of the information revealed within the article, as said information either was information already in the remit of public knowledge. This is all stuff that happened 10 years ago. If you look at RPG Pundit's live stream about this is all stuff that happened to him, James Raggy, Zach Smith, and Grim Jim in the days of Google Plus around 2014. And this is all stuff that people have already been talking about. It was not such of a high nature, high crime. There's no body farms, there's no murders, or such a risk of future harm to self or others to warrant putting at risk the livelihood or public or professional reputation, mental or physical health, or feelings of personal violation of sovereignty and integrity. Remember, Dr. Cleo Bella Weissman in the article, if she's the author of the article, identifies herself as the victim of multiple SA. Note that the cost of defending any legal action or disciplinary action would be large. And also notice that if she loses her license, the cost of acquiring a professional license, becoming a licensed therapist, is huge. So what? So to expose, to find out, to say to people, see, we knew what we knew about these people. It is what it is. So you can be convinced by my argument. You can think my argument holds water. You can say, nah, we think it was of better, higher value. Well, that's the debate. And that's the debate, we can have. That's not necessarily, I'm not saying that is going to be, RPG Pundit is going to take the opposite position. But if people want to know what my argument is and want to have it in a shorter form, there's the argument. Okay? Let me surmise then finally. I got one last thing to say. Summation. Individual actors are individual actors. One of the laziest things that's happening out here is that people keep on going, see, folks, we told you, these people are like this. I guess meaning leftists or liberals or, this, that, or the other. Individual actors are individual actors. Okay? If 5, 10, 15, 20 people, whether they are social democrats, whether they are trans people in the TTRPG community, whether they are just regular old Democrats, whether they are MAGA, whether they are libertarians, or whether they're just Republicans, acting in this space or the other space. Individual actors are individual actors, and they should be judged and adjudicated as such. It's lazy thinking. It's the equivalent of racism or bigotry to say because you had some bad experiences with a police officer, all cops are bastards. Or because these progressive people acting on, Google Plus in the TTRPG space were identified as progressive, this, that, or the other thing, that all trans progressive people are like this. That's small-minded thinking, and you can do better. That's why we expect and should expect each of us to do better. I'm not saying I did better. That's part of the reason I took my other videos down. Can we move forward? We'll talk about the audio in another video. I gotta get on the run, okay? But I do love you. I love you, I love you, I love you. I didn't make my video to come after Grim Jim. I came after my video, made my videos to help Grim Jim. I'm here for Dr. Cleo Bella Weissman, the wider TTRPG community, the lefties, the righties, okay? The Vagnar Satanicis and the Noah Pattersons, okay? For everybody's, but I gotta go. I love you, okay? Peace be upon you.